All right, everyone, welcome to the broadcast. I'm just starting this hangout to talk about some stupidity that's going on as I speak. It was these dumb protesters that was blocking the Milo Yiannopoulos event at UCLA. He's going on his tour of his, and for over an hour, these idiots were blocking the doors. These Milo haters just blocking the entrance to the event. Everybody has the right to free speech, okay? And you have the right to protest. But that doesn't mean you have the right to interfere with everybody's free speech. Protesting and the right to free speech are rights, but you don't have the right to use either one to interfere. Well, I don't really know how you would use speech to interfere with a protest, but definitely don't have a right to use a protest to interfere with somebody else's free speech. And that's what these clowns were doing. It was absolutely disgraceful. What the heck is wrong with these people? I mean, seriously, you're gonna sit up here and protest the event is fine, but to block people from going in to see the event, that's quite another matter. These people are getting out of control. These idiots were doing the same kind of thing when um, when Milo was speaking at Chicago. I mean, there weren't people blocking the door, but there was these the same group of people who were attempting to interfere with it. You had the Black Lives Matter just fringe group trying to interfere with it, and then security weren't doing their jobs. And then you have these morons in UCLA, like 24 people, acting as protesters, trying to block the event. And it went over an hour, postponed. These people are just out of control. I tried to turn it up so y'all could hear Milo speaking right now, but apparently it's not loud enough for whatever reason. But anyway, these protesters, man, stop trying to interfere with other people's free speech. You're not doing anything to help your cause. In fact, you're exposing just how weak your cause really is when you try to stop other people's right to free speech. And if you heard that applause in the background, those were people applauding to being able to get in the event. Now it's people flooding in to the event as we speak. And it looks like they were able to finally get past the protesters and get that situation under control. But these people have lost their dang minds. It is absolutely ridiculous. These people are out of control. They are a bunch of animals and they need to be tamed. It's sad that I gotta say that human beings need to be tamed, but that's just the fact. It's really ridiculous how out of control these freaking morons are. Trying to stop other people's free speech, you don't have the right to do that. And this is why less and less people are taking these social injustice warriors seriously. People are getting tired of these idiots trying to ruin events and stop other people's free speech. They're exposing just how weak their ideology and movement is by doing this. They don't want to actually try to compete on ideas. They just want to try to interfere with what other people are doing in their speech. These people are fringe lunatics and they're out of control. So people are coming into the event now. This is, as I'm speaking, they finally are getting people to show up, and they got those protesters under control. But I just had to start this hangout, man, because these people are out of their dang minds. These people are animals. Heck, I'd go as far as to say that they're lower than animals. These, I mean, they're just a bunch of nuts. You, if you can't try to compete on ideas, then perhaps you're on the wrong side of the argument. If you feel like you gotta constantly threaten people with physical violence and threaten people with trying to suppress an event, then you probably are on the wrong side. And you need to come to the truth and come to the realization of things and switch. You know dang well that you don't have the right to interfere with what somebody else's free speech is. The right to protest and the right to free speech are not something to be used to interfere with either one. You can protest the event outside of the venue if you want to. If you want to be outside the building while the speaker was speaking and protest the event, you have every right to do so. But you have no right to stop other people from attending the event either. There are ways to exercise both rights without interfering with one or the other. You can exercise your free right to protest without interfering with someone else's right to hear someone exhibit their right to free speech. Both things are possible to do at the same time. But these protesters don't want to hear someone speak because their insecurities are so challenged and their insecurities are so troubled that they think someone else speaking against them is going to hurt their little precious feelings. They're so hurt by their other people speaking, and they have their precious little feelings challenged because they know they have no logic to actually defend their views, and they act on emotion only. They don't act on logic or reason. They did this crap in Chicago, and they attempted to do it again at UCLA. It's good that they got this madness under control, because, and I would bet you anything that there were probably a lot of feminists within that group of protesters, because Milo Yiannopoulos called feminism cancer. And as Democrat Christina Hoff Sommers has said herself, third wave feminism of today is madness. And I would say the entire politically incorrect, the entire social injustice movement is beyond the madness. The entire movement is insanity. You got these people acting plumb freaking fools. They'll sit here and talk all this mess left and right about people being bigots, about people being hateful and whatnot, yet they exhibit the exact bigotry, the exact hatred, and the exact interference of other people's beliefs that they claim everyone else is doing to them. They project their own hatred and their own bigotry and their own insanity onto everyone else. These people are out of control. I don't know where people got the idea that it was cool to interfere with other people's free speech if it hurt their precious little feelings. What in the world are these freaking college professors teaching these millennials today? Because this most of the time it's these little millennials doing this crap, okay? Trying to interfere with other people's free speech. But this is the reason why people are rising up against the politically incorrect social injustice nonsense. People are getting tired of their BS. And the more they do stuff like this, the more backlash is going to be. And it's going to get to a point to where these people are going to be obscure and just another back mark on our history here in the Western world, particularly in the United States. These people will just go down as more fringe nuts who tried to censor other people, more nuts who are on the opposing side of freedom. That's what it ultimately comes down to. These people are enemies of freedom. These people are not tolerant at all. People are totally intolerant. You notice how these people confuse inclusiveness with tolerance? They seem to think those things are the same thing. They're not. When you're inclusive, you tend to accept other people's views as equally valid to any other. When you're tolerant, you are allowing views to exist that don't agree with yours. Tolerance presupposes that you think the view that you are entertaining or hearing isn't true. Otherwise, you wouldn't have to tolerate it. You would agree with it. So there's a difference between tolerance and inclusiveness. They're not the same thing. But then again, a lot of these social injustice warriors like to constantly confuse certain concepts as the same thing. Oh, you're intolerant, you're not inclusive. Those concepts are not the same thing. When you stand for anything, okay, when you take a stand on anything, you're going to be inclusive to certain things and exclusive to other things. There's no such thing as 100% inclusiveness in the most absolute sense, okay? But there can be a high level of tolerance. There can potentially be, well, I can't say that. I was about to say there could potentially be 100% tolerance, but not necessarily, because not all views that are tolerable are views that people should entertain people acting on. Like, for example, rape is just not only intolerable, it's absolutely to be excluded and condemned out of society. Those who believe in rape are not simply those views are not simply intolerated. They're ostracized out of society altogether. They're excluded out of society altogether. So not all views are 100% tolerable, but there is definitely a higher level of tolerance for views than there is a higher level tolerance for inclusiveness. Inclusiveness and intolerance are not the same thing. Boards constantly confuse those as the same thing, and they're not. People, these social injustice morons are out of control. They're way out of control. They need to be dealt with. And Milo Yiannopoulos' speaking event was an hour delayed because of these fringe idiots. Everybody has the right to speak. I don't see a bunch of fringe morons going to speaking events by liberals and feminists and obstructing them. I don't see people going to events by, let's say, Anita Sarkeesian and obstructing them. You just don't see it happening. When there are liberal social injustice warriors, liberal speakers, those events are not disrupted by people who do not believe in this insane politically correct nonsense that they believe in. Generally speaking, these events are not being disrupted. You don't have people interfering with them talking. And the reason why is because they not only do they believe that they have the truth on their side, but they also believe and truly believe in the right for other views that don't fit their own to be able to speak their views. So these social injustice idiots need to grow up and grow a pair. They want to have their little safe spaces to where nobody can say things they don't like on colleges. But when people come to speak on colleges, who get invited to speak on their colleges, then they want to interfere with the sort of safe space that should be happening around that time. When someone is invited to speak at an event, at a college venue, they should have the right to have a safe space while they're speaking, to keep from being interfered with by other people trying to keep them from speaking. If these people want to truly be heard, then they need to start competing with ideas, start trying to reach people on a cultural level. And then maybe somebody will want to hear what they got to say. But nobody's going to want to hear what you got to say. We attempt to stop other people from speaking. That's just the bottom line. They're getting this. They finally have gotten this event underway. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this hangout and watch the event. I'll I'll put a link to, actually, just look up Milo Yiannopoulos and you'll be able to see the live stream. Just look that up on YouTube and you'll be able to easily find the live stream. So thanks for watching, everybody, and God bless.